Hello. Let's see if this machine will work. My name is Alexandru, and I want to tell you a story about an app that went from native to clients. There's the QR code of the app that's in the App Store. I don't know the future if they all are enabled for the Austrian market or German market, but we went with the Boss Revolution application for a big US corporation that is stock market listed on stock exchange or New York Stock Exchange, and we migrated those native iOS code base, which we had, I think, still 50-60% in Objective-C, and the Java code with some Kotlin a bit on top of it, to a single code base. The reason behind was that the team, they were not aligned because, I don't know, lack of resources. The Android code base was always behind, delayed resources, implementing stuff on two platforms, two code bases, testing it on two code bases, and a lot of headaches. That the company decided to try Flutter, and they did a proof of concept. It saw that working, and say, okay, let's migrate our app, but we cannot simply rewrite it. We will write piece by piece, and we started with the tabs. So we have different tabs in the app, and we started with one tab, everything went fine. Second tab, everything went fine, but then the problems appeared. This is the story. I have also presented this at Iași Flutter Meetup. It's a Romanian local meetup in my city. I invite you to come to our place and give a talk if you want to. Okay, you just PM me any channel. This is me, Alexandru Tenente. You have my email. I am lead mobile developer at IDT Corporation. I love mobile apps. I'm doing this since 2010. I'm coming for many years of iOS background. And I used to live in Vienna here, in Margaret, some 10 years ago. So I will go very fast. I think everybody's a Flutter developer. They say it should work on any screen. It's a UI toolkit, and you write that code, and that's it. Yeah, you're done, finished. But then the problem appears how I'm putting this Flutter into my existing app, into my mobile app. And there you need to go a bit down, and you need to create a template. This is how it's called. I don't know why it's called a template. This create template module will create a module that will generate this folder structure where you have the main, and in the main starts with Flutter code. So it's similar with the Flutter app, but you need to create it like with a template minus template module. It creates a module folder, and then from there you can import Flutter packages and so on, and you run your main code. I have added it, or at least I found the simplest way to have the Flutter code base into my native mobile app by adding it as a Git submodule. So I have the main Git, and I have a Git submodule that is pointing directly to the Flutter repository. And then it comes the integration. So this is what Flutter generates behind. Now they support the Swift package. I didn't try it yet. So basically, you need to pay attention at the path, where the path of the Flutter lives in your subfolder into Git submodule. This code, you have to add it to your native iOS Cocoa Pods file, and then you simply run it. It's let's say the magic behind. The most important thing is it's the directory Flutter integrated native. That should be where your Flutter code lives. And that's it. And then it will find this pb helper.nb, and then it will do its own magic afterwards. Okay, now it comes how Flutter works. We have the Flutter engine that is written in C++, and it runs the Dart code. And then to show it, you need something on UI. On native iOS, you use Flutter V controller. This is what Flutter generates behind. And to adopt this in your existing app, it's simple. You just create the Flutter engine, you run the Flutter engine, then you have to write this line, Flutter plugin register and register with local Flutter engine. So this is how it hooks with the native method channels inside. This is, I believe, what it does. I didn't dig deep into the code. And then you need to keep an instance of your Flutter engine. So you save the pointer, the instance of your engine. You allocate the Flutter view controller with this Flutter engine. So you say, for this Flutter engine, you have this Flutter view controller, and then you simply present it. And that's it. You have Flutter running into your app. Till here, everything is simple. But then it comes this, you need to do Flutter pub-get, but you have to do it in your Flutter repository. And then you have to do pod install. Now the pod install, you have to do it in the main repository. So one layer up, not into iOS folder generated by Flutter when you do a normal Flutter app. Then you open the Xcode project and you run. I have also a small demo here. I will try to show you stuff. Okay, so let's see. In my view controller, I have the normal view deployed. I have a button that simply does everything I told you. So it says go to Flutter. The app is already running. I don't have to run it or not. Okay, I stop it and I run it again. Hopefully, let's see, demo effect, it will crash. Because this is how usually it happens. Some weird errors will display on screen. Build successful, yay. Okay, so now if I tap on Flutter, go to Flutter, it will call this handler into the native code that will allocate the Flutter, will run the Flutter code base, will store the Flutter reference, will allocate the Flutter view controller, and it will present it. So, we are in Flutter. Let's go. We have implemented it, and then this means the Flutter, and I say, I want to go again to Flutter, it will start from 0. Already my problems are starting to appear. So I just incremented the counter, why it's now from 0. Yes, it's now from 0 because I allocate every time a Flutter engine. So I should not allocate this engine to get rid of this problem, but we'll speak later. Okay, in theory, on Android, I lost it, no. I want to speak a bit also for Android. On Android, you have to edit the settings Gradle and the app build Gradle. Similar, you have to add some paths to Maven to know about Flutter. And also, you need to be very attentive to this folder path here, where it finds this include flutter.movie. If you mess this around, it will not work. I banged my head a few times why it's not working. And then in dependencies, you say implement project Flutter, and it should work basically. Similar with iOS, you have a Flutter activity that you need to declare it in your Android manifest. For those who are Android familiar, this is straightforward. And then you create an intent and you start that API. And it should work. This is similar with iOS. To work, you need to do a Flutter pub-get, so the Flutter will build and bring its own dependencies, but then you don't have to run anything into the Android folder. I will jump over the Android demo. I would like you to ask me a question anytime, so you don't have to wait till the end. I would rather discuss about this. Now the bigger problem appears. Okay, if I'm running my Flutter code in an existing app, I need things into the Flutter code base. I need the session, I need the user, I need the state of the mobile app. Flutter brings here the method channel, which is the way on how you can communicate between native and Flutter. This method channel, you can write platform-specific code. You can use native existing code, or you can use native APIs from the platform, or use third-party frameworks. Yeah, I don't say it's C++, C language, because you can do it via Dockerfile file, but you can use like Java code, Swift code, Objective-C code that already exists, different libraries. This is a scheme from the documentation, how it works. Like you have the method channel, on the Flutter app client, then you have the same method channel defined in the native iOS side, and then you have the same method channel defined on the native Android side. And now I will show you how to do this, basically. You have to declare a method channel name, which this name is a string, and it has to be exactly the same in all three places. So if you mess this around, it will not work. Then you create a method channel, a Flutter method channel with the method channel name, and you have to pass the binary messenger. That binary messenger is the Flutter engine that we have previously allocated. So this is how it communicates. So it knows on which Flutter engine to send the messages. Okay? Then you have to set a method called handler. This method called handler is what Flutter is calling to the native side. Okay? And I have defined another method that I implement this. So for the communication, I created an imam in Swift because this is my, let's say, first language, go-to language, where I have a message from native to Flutter, which is this increment counter, and then I have two messages from Flutter to native. Okay? And in the handle call method, I guard, this is like if to see if the method that is coming from Flutter to me, I can map it to the Flutter methods. And then I do a switch over those methods. So if it is increment counter, from Flutter to the native side, I call this result with not implemented. So I'm telling to Flutter, hey, I don't know this. You want this, but I don't know. Then this get token will return a result to Flutter. It's returning this token string that you can get it from your key store, from wherever you have it. And to dismiss, it will simply dismiss the Flutter controller, and also I call this result true. In my experience, I saw that you always have to return to Flutter. If you have an await call on the Flutter side, and if you don't call this result, which I usually send a true or Boolean value, then Flutter, it will get stuck. If you say await method channel, invoke method, it will stay because it waits for a result. Yes, please.
Yeah, if you don't do that, even if you don't call await with big memory, so you always have to return.
Yeah, thank you for helping me. I didn't debug the memory side, to be honest. Okay, and to call a method from the native side to the Flutter side, I just need to say method channel invoke method and the name of the method where I can pass some arguments. Now, in my case, it's a nil, but I can pass a dictionary that's key value. And on the Flutter side, I receive it as a map, and then I can map it to different objects. Okay. Now we come in on the Flutter side in dark code. In dark code, we need to allocate and declare this method channel that has the same name as the one we used in Swift and we will use in Kotlin. Then in the init state, I set this set method called handler where I pass the method where that will be called. Here, similar, I do a switch and I see if it is increment counter, if the native side will call me increment counter, I will call my private increment counter. And to ask something from Flutter to the native side, I just need to say invoke method. Okay? And this invoke method will call get token on the native side. That's it. And then it should return a string because I know that I'm returning a string from the native side to the Flutter side. And then it's just for fun, set state, and it should have the token, and then we can do, I don't know, request and load user data and so on. Okay, I also have a demo here. If you have questions, please. Okay, let me switch branches.
I have a question. I haven't worked with this yet, but you showed that you use it for functions, invoking functions. But how do you pass data between the Flutter app and the iOS app the same way?
It's the same way. You pass a map or a string, and then you get it into the arguments. Then you read it. You read it. You parse it from the arguments. You have to know what to pass.
Yeah.
I know in the documentation there is a way to pass type-safe objects, but I think it uses some generators. So still you have to define it. If you don't have a bunch of objects, which you should not do this, in my opinion, you should pass the minimum amount of data between native and Flutter just to make it work, because then it will be easier to switch to full Flutter. If you pass complex objects and so on, you will never be able to go to full Flutter. Ideally, you should just pass the authentication token till you do your registration login refresh token on the Flutter side, if you don't have it already. Okay. Let's see if I can show you a bit the new demo, if it works. Hopefully, I have to do a pub. Let's run it like this without pub yet. Yes.
Well, I can ask a question. But is there any way to reuse the dark code without actually presenting the Flutter controller or something? Like the Kotlin multi-platform test.
So if you want just to use the dark code,
this is logic, yes.
if you want to use the dark code, you just instantiate the Flutter engine and you call methods on it. Invoke methods on it, and that's it. And in background, it will run. This is what I want to show you here. Basically, if I go to Flutter now, if I increment the counter, now it's 2, okay, then I dismiss it. I should have an X button here, I don't have it. And now I call from native side to Flutter side increment counter. Here I can see in the console that it should increment counter, but if I say go to Flutter, it's still 2. It didn't increment it. The problem is that I switched branches and I didn't run Flutter pub yet. And it didn't generate the Flutter code framework for the iOS app to be able to compile it. Okay, this is one thing that you need to think about it if you do this. So now if I do a Flutter pub get, now, sorry, Flutter, it's, come on. Yes. Okay. Okay. Now it should do everything, and if I stop and run, I should already have the newest version of the Flutter compiled to be able to use it into the native iOS app. In my experience, sometimes you have to do also pod installs if you add packages to the Flutter code base. Of course, you need to do a pod install that will bring the dependency to the iOS code. You need to do product clean, product build, and so on. So now if I go to Flutter, I see the Flutter code base, I increment it, and hopefully it will not work because I didn't update the branch. It's still 4. Okay. Sorry. Demo effect. So we go to the Flutter code base and switch branch to method channel implementation. Okay, and now we repeat. In this new version of the code base, I'm not allocating the new Flutter engine. So if I already have the Flutter engine, I simply reuse it. This should be. So I go to Flutter. Yeah, this is the new Flutter code. I have a new button. I change the branch. Okay. If I increment the counter here and then I dismiss it, and now I do increment counter on the native side. If I go to the Flutter side, I have the new value. So the Flutter code base, the Flutter engine is running. It's what we have asked. Now the Flutter engine is running. It has its own code. It doesn't have an associated view controller to it, but the Dart code is running. The Flutter engine, the virtual machine that holds that engine, everything is instantiated and it is in memory. When I increment the counter, and then we say go to Flutter, I don't allocate the new engine, I am simply reusing the old engine that I have allocated, and just recreating the view controller. Okay? Same thing, same behavior, it's replicatable on Android. Now, if I say I want a token on the Flutter side. So I have this one here, which is called get token. I can put a breakpoint here so you can see it. I say get token from native. This is the Flutter code, okay? And I say get token from native. Now it's up here into the native code base. And this result, this token will be returned to the Flutter side. And if I hit continue now, okay, I have a token on the Flutter side. Now I can do anything I want into my native app. So if I want to build a new feature and I have 2 code bases in today's age, I believe there is no point to do this. And I have wrote my first iOS app in 2010. I built native iOS app all my life, and I switched to Flutter. Because of this, because we are not 2 people, there are no 2 tech stacks needed to do the same thing in 2 apps. Okay? Yeah, and if I hit dismiss, if you see under the debug, I have an X button on the Flutter code base that simply calls a method channel to dismiss the Flutter controller. So this is the call from Flutter telling to native side, hey, the view controller you just created and displaying with me, dismiss it. I don't care about it anymore. Okay? And if I hit continue, to dismiss itself. And now we are back to native. Okay? Great. I hope you like it.
Can I say something?
Yes, please.
Maybe you have your slides later, I don't know. What if you want to have 2 different Flutter views? How do you control that? Is it coming later?
Yes, it's coming.
Yeah.
Yes, it's coming. This is coming. That's the tricky thing. That's the tricky thing. And I can tell you how you can solve it. Okay? Similar to what I showed you on iOS. I showed you the iOS because I'm an iOS guy. On Android, same thing. You allocate the Flutter engine. You have to run this Dart executor with default entry point, so it will start the Flutter code base. Then there is this Flutter engine cache implemented on the Android side, and you put the engine into that cache. On iOS, we don't have this. We have to keep our self-reference to the engine. Okay, and then you declare the method channel with the engine and with the method channel name that has to be the exact same string, copy pasted. No, don't type it. Use ours. Then you set the method call handler on the Android side. Method call handler, it looks like this. It's method call with the result that we have to give from Android to the Flutter side. And then here, get token will call local get token, dismiss will call the local dismiss, and else I return, I don't know anything else. This is the only thing that I have implemented. Okay? To invoke a method from Android to the Flutter side, it's similar. You call invoke method with arguments, and here on the arguments you can pass your custom objects, your custom map data, a string, whatever you want to send to the Flutter side. Okay, I will jump over Android there. Now the problem appears. Flutter documentation will give you an example on how to use multiple Flutters in your app. And we are Flutter developers, we go to the documentation and we start building. And then the problem appears. One of the problems is, okay, I have multiple Flutter engines. I have multiple modules. If I create for every engine a separate module, I have multiple modules. I want to transition my app from native to full Flutter. I don't want to have multiple engines. I don't have to have multiple modules where my code base is separated between modules, and then how I will go to full Flutter. There is a solution. You can put the code in common packages, and in every module you just call the main package and so on. But from my opinion, this is a bit of a hack. Then we have the problem of loading a bunch of data in 3-4 places. In our use case, the Post Revolution, it's a calling and messaging app. We have a bunch of phone numbers that we need to normalize, to parse. We have a bunch of messages. and you don't want to replicate this data in 3-4 engines, your phone will simply burn. And yeah, I already described one of the things and some of the things with the problems. And yeah, if you want to share data between multiple Flutter engines, if you want to share the state between multiple Flutter engines, so imagine I have a feature A and a feature B implemented it in Flutter. They live in different Flutter engines, but when feature A does something, I need to update maybe the credit on feature B. Then I need to call a method channel to the native side, and the native side needs to keep track of that specific engine, and then it needs to tell, hey, see, the user is updated. He added new balance to his credit. And then you think, okay, this is not good. This is with 2, but when you end up to have 3, 4, what you do? Use one Flutter engine. Okay, it's normal. Let's not allocate multiple engines. This is what we did. We did first the messaging, and then we did the contacts, and then when we did the payment system, things will started to happen. Okay, we started to refactor the code. Only one Flutter engine on the native side, delete everything, unify the method channels, change the Flutter code. Now, new problem appears. If you detach, so the Flutter engine can have only one activity attached to it or one view controller at a time. So if you have a nested navigation, for example, you have native code, Flutter code with a view controller activity, then a native code, and then another Flutter code. Because, for example, I can give you our use case. We had implemented calling, but the post-call screen was native. Okay, no problem. But the user from the post-call screen can go to a different feature that was implemented in Flutter. No problem. You come back, and then your screen is freeze. Because the Flutter engine can have only one viewport attached at a time. And then you say, okay, let's reattach the viewport. It's not possible. So Flutter does not allow you to say, okay, this is your view controller now, or this is your activity now. And the solution was to recreate the activity, recreate the view controller. So when you come back, you need to know that you destroyed your previous Flutter view controller, previous Flutter activity, and simply recreate it. You have to use method channel to tell, hey, someone else in Flutter was presented. If you ever appear again, recreate yourself. Okay? And then we have started to do A/B tests. Because our app had 2.5 paying customers per month, 2.5 million paying customers per month. And you cannot simply go to the management and say, hey, our Flutter app is down, let's push everything in Flutter app. No manager will allow this. So you have to convince them with analytics and A/B testing to be able to roll back different features. So if you rewrite your app, everything from scratch, yes, it's fine. But if you start rewriting, we have rewrote tab by tab, the contacts, the messaging, the credits, the MTU, the send, the eGift, and we have a bunch of other features into the app. It was a tedious work, but the result is now the post-revolution app that I showed you earlier. It's full Flutter UI driven. We still have some native code, but till the end of this year, December, everything will be in Flutter. This is where the source code it is in the Flutter Meetup repositories. And I would like you to hit me with questions to discuss more about these things. And you have the QR code for the app if you want to check it out to see. Because you'll end up in Flutter after the registration. Because the registration is still native, it's work in progress.
So the question on the multiple views.
Yes. So for the multiple views, you cannot have two viewports running at the same time. So you cannot have two activities or two fragments attached to the same Flutter engine. If you want to do this, you need to have two separated engines. And then you can have two Flutter code bases running one on top of each other. This is the limitation that I have encountered. And if you have nested navigation, so for example, if you switch tabs, I present one Flutter engine with one Flutter viewport. I switch tab to a different tab that presents a different Flutter viewport. When I'm coming back, I need to recreate the first one. So every time you switch the tabs, you need to recreate it. We created a general solution for this. First, it was on the tab base, but then we observed that we have some model presentation. So we flagged via a controller that was in charge of who was presented and when, like a navigation controller, that a Flutter view was created, and when a second one was created, it will invalidate the previous one into the stack. And when it will reach to the previous one into the stack, it will know, okay, now I need to recreate this one. So to recreate it, reattach it to the engine via the binary messenger, and then it will run. Because the Flutter code, it runs. I demoed it.
So when you create a view controller, it will show you more main, basically.
Yes, you can specify different entry points.
How do you do that? Is it in the configuration or do you do it through the channels?
You do it into the code. You can specify different entry points and you can have multiple entry points. We also did this and we hit some problems because we thought of, okay, if I want to have a full Flutter app, why do I need multiple entry points? It should behave like a full Flutter app.
Later, right?
Yeah, later. Yeah. What we did is we used the method channel to send navigation commands to the Flutter engine. It's like, okay, I want to go to contacts. Method channel, then a normal navigation, or router, whatever navigation you choose, to display the contacts. Then you want to display messages, push in place of messages. That's it, you are on the messages screen on the Flutter side.
So the channel is active before the view controller appears.
The channel is active once you have instantiated. So you can not present
You
the
don't
controller.
get a glitch on the screen.
Yeah, you don't see anything. So the view controller is displayed when you show it. You can allocate it but keep it behind, or you cannot allocate it.
Because the engine is running.
Yeah, the engine is running, it's working like a full Flutter app. So they are decoupled. The viewport is totally decoupled from the Flutter code base from the Flutter engine. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Did you experience any performance issue between these communications between?
No. So from what I saw, we didn't pass huge amount of data. So we didn't pass the contact list from the native side to the Flutter side. We have built the parser on the Flutter side. We just passed the sessional, token ID, authentication keys, raise keys, whatever keys we have used.
Basically, they needed to handle all the
Yes.
connection to the
Because the goal was to migrate Yak to Flutter. If you pass big data back and forth, you are not working for the goal. The goal is to have as less communication as possible and make the Flutter code work as independent as possible. In parallel, we have built a full Flutter app that was using the same code that we were using in the module. So we had the app, you working in the Flutter app, everything is fine, and then now we are prepared to do the integration. We just have a method channel or a navigation point that will tell Flutter, hey, navigate to my new feature. And then you create the Flutter view engine with the Flutter view controller. You send the method channel to say navigate to my new feature screen, okay? And then you present the controller, and that's it. Okay, yes, please.
I'm not sure if I understood it correctly before, so I ask again about the multiple Flutter screens with a single engine.
Yeah.
Right? Do you keep the state of all view controllers, like
Yes, you keep the state on the native side,
Mhm.
so you have a navigation coordinator on the native side that you keep the state and you know what you did and when and what you need to preserve.
okay,
This is the only solution we have found.
yeah. So you can easily restore the
Yes.
view controller because
Yeah.
you have all the
Imagine
state.
if you have a stack native,
Mhm.
Flutter, native, and another Flutter,
Yeah.
when you pop, it's fine, the native will work, but then when you pop back, this Flutter view controller has remained with no engine. And
Mhm.
Flutter will give you an error, a warning into the console.
Mhm.
Only one Flutter view controller can be attached to the viewport, blah, blah, blah. But you cannot reattach a new one. And you cannot deattach, or at least I didn't find it. Maybe it is added now in the latest Flutter versions, but I didn't look because we got rid of this problem. Now we have only the beginning native side. We also have it in the Flutter side, but it's not production ready. And then we start the Flutter code base. Everything is in Flutter. And also we have a bit of side menu, like main controller that is still native. Yeah, but that's nothing. We don't care about it. The full app that we care about it, calling, messaging, mobile top-up, voucher, e-gifts, everything that the core business of the app is in Flutter and is working.
And the restoration of the view controller, is it very similar in Android with activities?
Yes, you just allocate a new view controller and you pass the same Flutter engine binary messenger. Say, I create this viewport for this engine, and then everything will resume working.
That's nice.
You cannot attach it a new one, you just have to create a new view controller. You cannot say, this view controller reattach the binary messenger. Once it's cut, you cannot reattach it. So it is attached when you call the constructor of the view controller and when you pass the parameter. This is how it doesn't have a public setter.
Mhm.
If they would add the public setter, now that I'm speaking, I maybe should have proposed the change to just have a separate. That's it. But yeah, this is what we did, and this is the story of the post-evolution app, and we managed to convince the higher management that Flutter is at least as best as the native code base to fully go on Flutter.